Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish.
Now, who was with us yesterday? I know a lot of you were, because we got so many people saying, oh, send me the time block sheet. And so many people went to it. And if you're wondering what the time block sheet is about, it's one of the most incredible tools to move the needle in your life. Incredible tools. You can find that at savingdinner.com/time. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because all week long we've been talking about measuring. And you know how important it is to measure, because measuring really is what? Your starting place. Measuring helps you to understand this is where I am and this is where I need to go. I mean, you know, if you're going to go someplace, I mean, I do this all the time. So as soon as we had an address for where my daughter was, I immediately put my address in and her address in. I put my address to her address, clicked on the Google, press the button, go link, and saw how long it measured from my house to her house, how many miles and how long it's going to take. We all need that information, don't we? We all need this. And while I am not a big fan of forever and ever, amen, measuring and weighing food and measuring and weighing myself and all of that, we do need to get a good grip of where we are. And on Monday, we talked about, you know, do you even really know what is on your plate and how much is on your plate? There was tons of things we talked about with that. And then yesterday, we talked about the most immeasurable, hard to grasp concept, the most cherished thing that we have that we don't measure enough of, and that's our time. We don't really have a good grasp on how our time is spent, and that our time is seriously, it's not only a commodity, but it's a currency, and it's measurable. It's something that we can sort of measure, but we don't know how much time we have. None of us do. And we don't know if, you know, we're like the butterball turkey, if our little boop, it's done, is going to pop up at any time, and that's it. It's over. Don't know that. I just had word yesterday that one of my son's teachers, when he was in high school, who was phenomenal at helping me understand. He had a learning disorder, but she helped me so much with understanding. She was gentle and kind, and I found, you know how the system is, that she was one of the ones who could speak to me in a way that was kind and lovely. And she was younger than me, and I just found out she passed away. Why? I don't know why she passed away, but she passed away, and I just loved her. I thought she was a lovely woman. But that just goes to show you, we just don't know how much time we all have. And therefore, cherishing, honoring our time and being mindful stewards of that time is, I think, one of our most important priorities in our lives. So it's also our biggest unknown. You know, we have no idea. We have absolutely no idea. So yesterday, as we talked about time and using the time block sheet, we had, what was it, Mary Mayhem? Or I called her Penelope Procrastinator, whomever. Like, this is how lousy time is spent, versus we took Veronica Vibrancy. And you can see those, by the way, in our newsletters. We have 2 pictures of them. What the difference between the 2 women are. One was living mindfully. The other one was just frittering away her time. So strong recommendation. If you don't get our emails, start getting them, because every day we give you the show notes, and those are helpful. That's just go to savingdinner.com, and I promise you an annoying pop-up will come up. Or you can use a little sidebar there. There will be a place for you to sign up. But it's important because this is how we go through and understand things a little bit better. And the written word, reading it again, even if you saw the show, it helps to reinforce the principles. That's what we did with that. And so we talked about that time block sheet in detail. And I also told you that you will see something remarkable if you have the guts to go through and create the time block sheet that shows you really where your time is going. You'll see something remarkable if you're honest about it and not making it a little soft around the edges, and then redo it for what it is that you want. And then start your day, start your life like that. That's how you get into the weeds with all of that. But the next part of it is there's a process called chunking. Have you ever heard of time chunking before? I hadn't really until I started. I mean, I used to always say that, chunk away at things, but there is a process called time chunking. And essentially what time chunking is about is making sure that you take a bigger swath of time and get everything that's out of your head onto some paper and then take it from there. So I'm going to show you how to do that and talk about that. Yesterday was practically a workshop. Won't you agree? I think it was super helpful. I got some good feedback from it. So I appreciate that. But I want to keep you moving forward, because if we can take our time and handle it with a little bit more solemnity, I will say, and a little bit more of a sobering look at how important it is that we spend our time wisely, I think the quality of our lives will incredibly change. And they have to, because, we're no longer just frivolously wasting our time or killing it or whatever it is that we're saying about it. But one thing that I know is this, and I hear this all the time. I see it in the comments. I see it on our Facebook group, and I see it enough, almost daily. And that is, I'll hear someone say, well, I'm so overwhelmed. I just can't. It's too hard. It's too whatever it is. And they're talking usually about a project or, something in their life that's just hard. And we measure, that is our measurement then of impossible. We see that as impossible. And I'll never be able to, even though we understand what that tells our brain. Our brain is saying, okay, your wish is my command, basically. It's like a genie in a bottle sometimes. Because if we say enough times and think enough times that we can't, then by golly, our brain's going to figure out a way to make sure that that's the truth. Because we operate in truth in our brains anyway. In our brains anyway. So even though we know this, those thoughts still come, don't they? And maybe it's habitual that we keep saying those things. So I want to give you a procedure, a strategy, a thing that you can do to work your way out of this, because I believe too that if we can do this, and if we can start seeing a little progress, we'll start to see the possibilities. We'll start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, in the forest, through the trees, and all those other metaphors that you want to throw down, because it'll make a big, big difference. So you want to get into it? A little time chunking. This is what it's about. Time chunking is you start with a brain dump, and then you work your way into what the project is, because sometimes it's not just a thing, it's many things. And until you get it all out and dumped onto paper, it gets really difficult. So one of the things too, and let me just say too, a pretext to this whole thing is what our brains like to do. We have to remember that if we can operate with full knowledge of understanding how our brains like to operate, then we can take full advantage of that, and it makes the process that much smoother. In other words, instead of trying to go against the wind, we allow the wind to carry us. You see what I'm saying with that? So one of the things that our brains absolutely love, and it's easy for us to do, and you can see it with your toddlers. You can see this with yourself. And I will tell you, in NutriCoach, it was one of the biggest things that my students absolutely love. And it was the whole session on setting up a kitchen for success. It was basically kitchen organization, not just the organization, but also about getting a kitchen in readiness to be able to cook. Now, this is important for my NutriCoach clients because they're either teaching cooking lessons or they're doing things for their websites or whatever it is, and they had kitchens maybe that were not set up for success. So, hi, Kimberline. So you want to know what that biggest concept was? It was putting like with like. Get it? Like with like. So I had one of my students say this was an aha moment for me because she said she recognized that she would have all of her baking stuff. This one was a baker. She created good, healthy baked goods for people and taught those cooking lessons and what have you. And she realized she had a rolling pin over here and she had her parchment over here. She had her measuring cups over, everything was everywhere. And she'd ping pong all over the kitchen to get the things because she put them in what she figured was a logical, this is where the utensils go, this is where this goes, this is where that goes. And in reality, she had a big deep drawer, putting her mixer and her spatulas and everything that she needed for baking in that one drawer was the wise move. You see what I mean? She said it just completely changed everything. Because that's part of mise en place, and we love that. Mise en place is everything in its place. We should do this. I do this when I put on makeup in the morning, for heaven's sakes. I do this when I'm cooking, getting everything out that I need, having it right there, so I'm staying right there. Our brains love this because it's just this one thought process of just putting all the like things together, getting them all together, and having them there. It's an easy process. You see this with your toddler. You could say to your 3-year-old, hey, throw down a bunch of dinosaurs and get all the red dinosaurs out. And they're going to pick through putting like with like. And it's an easy process. It was an easy process. So that's how this whole thing, that's the one concept that I'm going to throw over the top of this whole idea of chunking, okay? Time chunking. So here's the next thing that you need to do. Now that you understand all of this, the next thing that you need to do is go get yourself a little pad of paper. Now you see this? These are my show notes. Notice they're all written out by hand with a pencil on a paper. And the reason that we do it, hi, Flynn and Margot, good to see you. The reason that we do that I do this is for me to understand the concepts and I can bring them better to life with you as I'm writing all this stuff down. It's just that much easier. Very rarely do I just write myself some notes and then just riff. I do sometimes, but I also pass these notes on to our Amber, and she writes the show notes from there. Did you know that? That's our secret. But now I've told you all about it. So number one is I want you to brain dump a list. And here's the thing. Anything goes. Anything goes. Whether it's clean up the garage or create this for your work or here's a project, a crochet project that you want to do. I don't care. Whether it's like menu plan or whatever. It can be this big mess of stuff, but it's all the things that you know exactly what I'm talking about, that go ding, ding, ding off in your head constantly that says, I forgot to menu plan. I got to tell Jenny this. I've got to do this or I got to do that. And it's just a brain dump to get everything out. Once everything is out and on paper, because it's best for your brain to empty that stuff out. So you've given your brain space to start thinking and to start connecting the dots and to start going on there. Yes, Jenny, you made the list. You're always on my list, by the way, always. And I mean that in a good way, not in a bad way. And this is where your impossible tasks come on too. I mean, I want the impossible that you say, like maybe you have a stuffed garage that's right up to the rafters. I mean, this garage, for heaven's sakes, is just a tragedy, right? So what? Put it on the list. And then later on, we make a task list for it. So, but first of all, look at the commonalities. That's number 2. now that you've done the brain dump, look for the commonalities. And I will tell you, I promise you, if you do this right and you just like purge your head, you will find some commonalities. So for example, on mine, it was like, I need dog food, which is already ordered, by the way, through Amazon, but it takes them forever to get it because I have a dog with a sensitive stomach and all of this. As you know, I think I told you the poop story. So I have to get the special dog food and do all these things and what have you. So what can I do besides, getting the dog food? I've ordered it already, but I've still got to go out into town and go pick some up while I wait for it to get here. I also have to go to the compounding pharmacy and pick up this. So now I've got 2 tasks that go together. I mean, duh, right? Is that easy? But it's taking up brain space is my point. And in order to get myself to the place of project mode, I've got to get rid of this stuff and put it on, the to-do list, hand it to Mark or whatever. But the to-do list is important because the to-do list is part of the clutter, right? It's part of the clutter. Jane says, that's in Carousel of Crazy Chapter 3. Absolutely. It totally is. So when we do this, when we do all of this, then we can see our bigger projects. And then, like, for example, when it comes to the garage, the stuffed garage, you can make a task list for that. Maybe there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be given away. Maybe there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be hauled away. Maybe there's a bunch of stuff, blah, blah, blah. So it's call the trash guy, call for, Salvation Army, those kind of things, so that you've got all of those and you put a time bumper on them. And now you're going to move the needle, because now you're saying, I've got to get this all done and out to the curb by such and such a date, because that's when they're coming. You see what I'm going with all of this. So you've got a task list for that. And now it makes it easier because you can chunk away at it. Do you see that? That big project no longer becomes this overwhelming mess. It becomes a list of tasks. So that's how you do that. And number 3 is, after we've, done all of this stuff, is you got to figure out what's your purpose for all of this. What? So you have the cleanest garage on the block or whatever. And I say no to that. That's not my purpose. I know what my purpose is. Do you know what yours is? Because at the end of the day, our whole thing is that we need to connect to the solution and stop connecting to the problem. Because the problem and that focus on the problem is what holds us back from getting anything done. So, okay, Jane, hear me. See, when you say my lists are scary, your brain is saying, you know what? Check the box. Your lists are scary, Jane. Scary's hard. Scary's impossible. Can't do it. Same with you, Kimberline. And I'm telling you this, if we just matter-of-factly do our big brain dump, and then we chunk them down, make task lists for everything, we now have made a plan. You hear me? We've made a plan because we've made a task list for that one thing. But in order to do it, we got to get everything out first. I'm serious. We're crowding out. We've got too many unlikes with likes. It's like opening the junk drawer, and there's too many junk drawers. We need 1 junk drawer, not 5. You hear me? This is huge. This changed my life, y'all. I'm sharing it with you, and I'm sharing this part with you too, because this is the deal. This is number 3. Write this down and write this down and write this down. You got that? What's your purpose? What's your purpose in all of this? What's your purpose in all of this? Your purpose in all of this is to get your focus on the solution and to stop emoting and hand-wringing about the problem. You don't have scary lists, you have long lists. You don't have overwhelming problems, you have problems that just need to be solved. You have things that need to be written out, and you have a methodology for getting it done. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Where your focus goes, where your attention goes, that's where your focus goes. Where your attention goes, that's where your energy goes too. And I'm telling you, if you spend all of your time on the problem, you're not going to get to the solution. Your solution is the answer. and your solution and your emoting and your excitement over, you know what, I'm starting to see the forest through the trees. You know what, I can do this. You know what, nothing's overwhelming for this girl. Everything's possible. Pinkies up. Do you see it? Do you see what I'm doing here? I sure hope so, because this is a game changer. And this is what changes the way your house looks. This is what changes the way you think. And this is what chunks away at time that you didn't think you had. It changes everything. Tony Robbins said this, number 4, rewards come in action, not discussion, right? Not discussion. So block your time for this. This is important. If you take your time, especially if you did a time block sheet yesterday and you just went, holy moly, I'm that, you know, where's my time going? There it is. Oh my gosh. Slap, slap. Was it a wake-up call? I sure hope so. That means you did it in a way that was purposeful and honest. That raw honesty is what's going to save your butt and completely redeem your time. And then these methods, I'm just telling you, you want to know? They work. You want to know? It won't be overnight, but it didn't get there overnight like that either, did it? Nothing's overwhelming. Nothing's too scary because we are women who are wise and we look for solutions. We don't sit on our problems and tell everybody about them. No, we don't need to. We know that they exist, but now we have a methodology. So I want you to look at this. You make your should a must. That's action. That's action. And you remember your purpose because you remember your goals. What is your goal? You want to live in tranquility and harmony and peace? Then you can't do it with crap piled up all over the house, can you? You can't do it with a desk that looks like a bomb went off. You can't do it if you go into the bathroom and you can't even find your toothbrush. You can't do it if you've got a refrigerator full of crap that's not going to feed your body. And on it goes. Because this is what we do. We overwhelm our bodies, we overwhelm our minds, and we overwhelm our visual with too much crap. And what does that do? It makes us give up. It says it's too hard, it's too overwhelming, it's too. But I'm going to tell you what, if you devote yourself to just this one task of making a big chunk of time, putting it out, dropping it all like it's hot, and watch what happens. Because a little devotion goes a long way. What we're looking at right here is just taking all the bits and pieces and odds and ends and bringing them all together and saying, hold the phone, time out. This is a smart way to make life manageable because we do get overwhelmed. I get it. Of course we do. We get overwhelmed. We think it's too much. But that's where we spend our time, is on that. Instead of, what if I were just to write all this stuff out? What if I were to take the big projects, make a task sheet out of it, and then just start? What if I did that instead? What if I made my should into a must? What if I did that? Can I just remember about your purpose and your goals? If you want to live in visual peace, that's what I like, visual peace. I want to see everything lovely around me. I like, like when I go to bed at night, I refluff up the pillows. I make sure everything's straightened and put away. I take the little remote and put it into the basket where I have it, because I walk out in the morning. There it is. Lovely room. Visual peace. That's a great way to start your morning. That is a great way to have that moment where you can sit down, meditate, and just start your day anchored onto the important stuff. So, clear delineation of doing is what's going to help you to get what you want. It's clear. You've made it clear just by doing this one thing. And I also believe that this will help stop us to become so reactive to everything around us and in crisis all the time and bopping from thing to thing to thing to thing. Because being proactive means that we're in control of our time and that we can do these things and that we're clear on what it is that needs to be done. I want you to hear me out on something too. That, and I am going to sound like a shill, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care. That this methodology in Take Back Your Life is the methodology for getting through all of this stuff. You got to use it. You got to use it. But if in 12 weeks you take goals that you want to accomplish and have happen in your life to a different level, because they get accomplished because you're writing them out every day. There's psychology behind it. There's science behind it, and it works. It works. Peace be with you. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.